Greetings everyone. Today I wanted to talk a little bit more about sugar and our increased consumption every day, single day. A lot of us have this habit that we want to get up in the morning, have a cup of chai with sugar, or we'll want to have cups of coffee during the day, but that must have sugar in it. Or we may want to have a piece of sugar post every meal, or sometimes a lot of times I see a lot of my clients having that post dinner. Now, what happens is when we actually consume sugar, the brain produces a hormone called dopamine, and with this dopamine we start feeling good about ourselves, right? We start feeling a surge of energy. There's a feel good factor which is really temporary, and that feel good factor, this dopamine release, makes you want more of the same thing. So therefore, if you want to have a small piece of burfi, it'll never stop at that small piece of burfi, right? You'll have the whole burfi and they'll say, hang on, let me have one more. Oh, maybe I can have one more. So it really doesn't stop at one. So therefore, it sometimes seems like an addiction because you kind of feel that you have no control over it and you must have it. But let's see what research says. Research actually says that sugar is very different than any sort of an addiction. What happens in the brain of somebody who consumes sugar versus somebody who consumes drugs or is addicted to drugs is very, very different. Therefore, we cannot assume that sugar is an addiction, whereas sugar actually is our habit. Okay? There are natural triggers in our life on a daily basis that lead us to consume sugar, right? It could be, like I just mentioned, this particular time in the morning at 11 o'clock in the morning, you feel like you're actually hungry, but instead of eating something that's healthy, you will go out for the piece of cookie. Okay, that may be your trigger. And every day at 11 o'clock, because you've cultivated, you have this trigger, right? This trigger that reminds you that you're hungry, but instead of eating eating something that's healthy, you actually eat a piece of cookie, and you do this every single day. So what happens is there are rigid pathways in your brain that are created every single day that will say, hey, it's 11 o'clock, let me have a cookie. Okay, there are other things that could be acting as triggers in your life that will help, that may be wanting you to eat insane amounts of sugar or have sugar every single day. It could be stress, right? When we are stressed, when we have anxiety, when we're feeling kind of low and depressed, our body naturally starts craving sugar. Also, when we are lonely, where we are bored, also this when there's a sense of love in life, we tend to crave sugar. Let me give you this example. The mother's milk is very, very sweet, right? And the mother's milk is associated with safety, love, nourishment, about feeling in a safe haven, right? Sugar, and the mother's milk is sweet. The sugar is sweet. So when there is a loss of love in life, there is a sense of boredom, loneliness, stress, love for self, confusion. When we don't have a sense of direction in our life and we kind of feel that nothing in our lives are working, we tend to lean towards sugar because sugar seems like a replacement for love, right? So whenever there is a loss of love in your life, there emerges this need to have sugar. So if you are consuming sugar every single day, right, ask yourself why that may be. Why do you feel the need to have this sugar, right? Or piece of chocolate or mithai or whatever that may be. Ask yourself why that is. What are your triggers and how are these triggers affecting your habits? So therefore, consumption of sugar is really not an addiction. It really is a habit that the good news is we can change this habit, right? As long as we can change the triggers and our response to those triggers. Now, how can we just start changing that? First of all is noticing, having a heightened level of awareness of when these triggers are acting up in your life, and taking an action which replaces a previous action, right? For example, you at 11 o'clock, we just said you want to have that cookie, and now you realize at 11 o'clock, instead of having a cookie, you say, you know what, I'm going to pick up something healthy today, I'm going to have a fruit, right? The next day you repeat this again. Now when you do this 10,000 times over and over and over and over again, it becomes a habit and becomes a sustainable habit, right? Sometimes people don't realize is people saying, oh, let me have a a yogurt and add some granola, and that becomes a healthy snack. But something like this may have more calories than even a full size Snickers. So the second thing is to educate ourselves and understand what are the foods that have sugar. This big food industry today wants to make everything appealing to us, right? It wants us to consume more of the savory or even sweet things out there in the market. So all of these packaged foods are adding more and more different kinds of sugar. There might be at least 150 or 200 different kinds of derivatives or names for sugar that when you will read the package, you won't even know is sugar, right? So make sure you read the food label. If you read a food label, if you can't understand it, then don't consume it, right? Second thing, add more natural sources of sugar, like fruits and which are much better for your body, rather than having these unnatural sources of refined sources of sugar. Eat 4 or 5 kinds of fruits and vegetables. Add more complex carbohydrates, add more good sources of protein in your diet. The other thing that also happens is when we consume sugar, body uses that as a principal source of energy. But when you are depriving yourself, for example, or you're not depriving but you're kind of cutting down on the sugar in your life, the body actually uses the fatty acids as a principal source of energy. Therefore, when you cut down sugar, the body goes out to the fat reserves in your body and uses that as a source of energy, and therefore aids in weight loss and better health and better well-being. So that's another reason. Does our body really need sugar? No. Our body can do without sugar, does not need sugar. What it needs is a balanced, healthy diet. But this has to be a habit. But on the same side, hey, I'm not saying don't enjoy that occasional dessert, okay? I'm not saying food has to become a source of enemy, or we shouldn't feel a sense of deprivation. Yes, occasionally have that. There is no harm, but definitely our body can do with no sugar and use natural sources of sugar. Identify what are the triggers that are causing you to eat more sugar. Change your reactions to those triggers, and therefore change your actions, which over a period of time will become habits, and these habits will lead you to live a healthier and a better fulfilled life. Take care of yourself. Ciao.